Stop visualizing what you want. This is the first biological mistake most people will make this Sunday, June 14th, while trying to receive what they have been asking for months. You wake up, close your eyes, project the ideal scenario, the debt paid off, the healed relationship, the call that changes everything, the bank's name appearing on your phone screen, and then you spend the rest of the day with your jaw clenched, your stomach tight, and your nervous system vibrating at a frequency of pure panic, masked as productivity. The brain is not a receiver of reality. The brain is a generator, and what it generates hour after hour is not your stated desire. It is your energetic signature. It is the physiological state in which the body spends the majority of its 24 hours. This is why, even after years of asking, affirming, writing in journals, repeating mantras in the mirror, and listening to subliminal audios before bed, you still wake up inside the same reality. Not because the field is ignoring you, but because your body is sending out, without your conscious consent, a signal that is exactly the opposite of what your mouth pronounces. And today, on this specific Sunday, I'm going to explain exactly what neurological error is blocking the delivery. I will show you why this date is no coincidence, and I will give you the only tool that makes the nervous system stop emitting crossed signals and start behaving like someone who has already received. You didn't come to this video by chance. I know that phrase has been trivialized by thousands of channels that use cheap mysticism as a hook. Here, it has a verifiable basis. Every choice you have made in the last 72 hours, what you watched, what you ignored, when you picked up your phone, when you put it down in the middle of the table, passed through a neurological filter called the reticular activating system. This filter decides what enters your consciousness based on the dominant question the body is asking in silence. And the body of someone who arrives here on June 14th is asking a very specific question. Why hasn't it arrived yet? The fact that you opened this video means the question has reached critical mass. It means your field is collapsing a series of probabilities into a single point. It means, above all, that you are about to receive the answer you have been avoiding for a long time. Not the answer you wanted to hear, the answer you needed to hear to stop sabotaging the delivery, because the delivery already exists. It is woven into the fabric of what has not yet materialized. The problem was never the request. The problem is the frequency of the receiver. Now I need to talk about the pain that no one wants to admit out loud. The pain of continuing to believe after everything has already given you a reason to give up. You pray, and the prayer seems to evaporate before reaching the ceiling. You visualize, and the image crumbles in 3 seconds because the body contradicts it in the 4th. You wait, and the waiting begins to feel like childish naivety. There is a specific type of exhaustion that doesn't show up in a blood test. It is the exhaustion of someone who kept the flame lit, while the entire room insisted on remaining cold. It is the fatigue of explaining to yourself every morning that it's going to work out, even when the immediate empirical evidence suggests otherwise. What no one told you is this: your persistence is not weakness disguised as faith. Your persistence is the clearest evidence that your limbic system is sustaining a frequency that most nervous systems would automatically shut down in a few weeks. People with low heart-brain coherence abandon their desire in the first 6 weeks of the field's apparent silence. They trade the dream for a smaller version of themselves, more palatable, more socially acceptable. You didn't trade. This is not emotional coincidence. This is a rare biological calibration. And it is precisely this calibration that your current discomfort is testing to the maximum limit of tolerance. Because the final stage before physical delivery is always the stage where the body screams, "This isn't coming." And even so, the oldest part of you, the one that doesn't respond to the logic of the frontal cortex, continues to emit the opposite signal in absolute silence. There is a woman named Deborah Collins who for more than 50 years recorded deep hypnotic regressions in patients from all over the world. She didn't work with faith. She worked with clinical data collected in a deep trance state. And what she documented repeatedly in thousands of independent sessions conducted in different countries like England, Australia, and Canada, with people who had never met each other, is that there is a specific category of human beings whose nervous system was calibrated before this life to sustain loads that other systems simply would not bear. She called these people voluntary souls. I prefer to call them what they are in the mechanics of the body: nervous systems with high tolerance for temporary incoherence. These systems voluntarily choose to enter dense fields, broken family environments in places like Chicago or East London, financial situations of extreme scarcity, early losses, betrayals, sequential abandonments, not as cosmic punishment, as physiological preparation. Because to emit a frequency of real, sustainable, durable abundance, you first need to have the neuronal tissue capable of processing the frequency without collapsing emotionally at the first sign of change. And this tissue only forms under pressure. What is hurting you now is not a punishment. It is the final phase of a biological sculpting that began long before your first conscious thought in this life. The people who never went through what you went through are also not going to receive what you are about to receive. Not because they deserve less, because their bodies were literally not built for it. Their nervous systems would explode. Yours will not. Yours was forged exactly for the size of what is coming. The quantum field, the same one that serious physicists cannot describe without using the word intelligent, even when they try to avoid it, knows your biological signature with a precision that no imaging test can yet replicate. It knows the exact temperature of your prayer at 3 in the morning. It records the micro-contraction in your chest when you open your banking app. It captures the oscillation in your heart rate variability the instant you pass a happy couple on the streets of New York or London and pretend it didn't hurt. It measures the change in your breathing pattern when someone mentions an amount of money you don't have yet. None of this is ignored. None of this is wasted. None of this stays out of the equation. And here is the point that reorganizes the entire story. Everything that seems like a delay in your life is, at the level of the field, synchronization. The people who entered, those who left, the jobs that came, those that went away, the losses that seemed random, the doors that closed when you swore that was the way. Each of these events is a measurement point in an equation being solved in real time by a loving intelligence that makes no errors in arithmetic. You are not being punished by the silence. You are being positioned by the silence. There is a biological difference between the two. One destroys the tissue, the other sculpts it. Those being punished feel their bodies rotting. Those being positioned feel their bodies aching while they reconfigure. The pain is different. You know this because deep down, even in the worst moment, something in you continues to breathe like someone who still believes. Now I need to talk about what you have lost, because every person who reaches the point you have reached has a silent inventory of goodbyes. People who left physically, people who left emotionally without ever saying goodbye. Versions of yourself that were left behind. Dreams that had to be buried so the body could breathe again. And at some point, someone told you these losses were lessons. That word is one of the worst semantic violences ever committed against those who suffer. Losses are not lessons, losses are prunings. Neurology calls this synaptic pruning. Old connections must die so that new ones can form in the same space. The adult brain does not create new circuits on occupied ground. It creates new circuits on the ground that was cleared by the death of something else. Everything that left your life, and it hurts to admit this, left because it occupied the neuronal space where what is arriving needs to be installed. Nothing essential was lost. What was essential changed form. The love of those who left did not evaporate. It reconfigured into a frequency that your body can now receive without breaking in the process. The people who hurt you were not erased. They were converted into a new sensitivity that allows you to recognize with almost uncomfortable precision who is trustworthy and who is not. Financial losses did not disappear into nothingness. They rewrote your relationship with money at a level that no financial education spreadsheet could ever write. Nothing that mattered was wasted. Everything was transmuted. And that word, transmutation, is the only one that honestly describes what has happened to you in recent years. And now I need to be direct with you about something that will hurt. You can listen to this video until the end, feel everything that is being said, agree with every sentence at the deepest level of your chest, close the app, sleep well tonight, and tomorrow morning your body will wake up in exactly the same physiological state it has been waking up in for years. The same elevated cortisol at 6 in the morning, the same jaw clenching before the first sip of coffee, the same mental loop about money, about debt, about deadlines, about what is missing, because understanding does not change biology. Most people who have been consuming content about the law of attraction for a decade remain in exactly the same financial and emotional place they were in during the first video they watched. Not because the content is false, because the passive consumption of information does not lower brainwaves to the frequency where reprogramming happens. You are not going to think your way out of a body addicted to scarcity. 28 days is the minimum time that literature on neuronal plasticity requires for a new physiological identity to imprint itself on the tissue. The Prosperity Magnet is not a manifestation course. It is a 28-day internal field reprogramming protocol designed to make your nervous system stop asking and start emitting like someone who has already received. Each session lowers your brain waves to theta, the only state in which biology accepts a new order without conscious resistance. You exit the identity of someone waiting for money and enter the frequency of someone money seeks out, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. The link to enter the protocol is in the first pinned comment of this video. It is the only place where it appears. There is something Deborah Collins said in almost all of her regressions that no one dares to repeat out loud. She said the request is already answered the instant it is formulated with sincerity at the deepest level of the body. The visible delay is only the time physical matter needs to reorganize around the new frequency. Think about that for 30 seconds. Think about the weight of that data. What you want is not being decided at this moment. It has already been decided. It is merely materializing at the speed your nervous system allows. And this is exactly where the greatest silent frustration of those who have walked this path for too long lives. You are not waiting for the universe to decide. You are waiting for your own body to allow it. Every time the request approaches delivery, the body enters a micro-crisis. The chest tightens. The breath shortens. An intrusive thought appears. What if it arrives and I don't know how to handle it? What if it arrives and disappears? What if it arrives and I lose it again? This thought is not moral weakness. It is a psychological immune system programmed to reject everything that doesn't match the current identity. That is why the request stays in orbit, not because the field is cruel, because your body has not yet authorized the landing. And now I need to give you the exercise. There is a 4-step protocol that can be executed on any day, at any time, but which carries a specific weight when done on a Sunday like this. The first step is somatic honesty. Sit in absolute silence for 90 seconds and admit in a low voice exactly what you are feeling at the level of the body. Not what you think you should be feeling. What is actually pulsing there? Fear, exhaustion, muffled anger, old disappointment. Say it in a low voice. The body needs to hear you acknowledge the real state before accepting any new instruction. The second step is vagal silence. Breathe through your nose for a count of 4 to inhale and a count of 8 to release the air through your mouth for 2 minutes. This specific breathing pattern activates the ventral branch of the vagus nerve and shuts down, in real time, the alert system that has been blocking the receiver. The third step is a declaration of intent in a state of coherence. Only after the body is calm and never before do you pronounce out loud what you asked for, but formulated in the present indicative, as one who reports and not as one who begs. Not, I want to receive. I receive. I am received. I am that which I asked for. The fourth step is anticipated gratitude. You give thanks for what has not yet arrived on the visible plane, but which already exists on the plane of cause. This anticipated gratitude releases a specific neurochemical cascade, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, that reproduces in the body, with physiological fidelity, the internal state of someone who has already received. And it is this state and no other that the field reads as authorization to deliver. You are at a turning point, not in the trivial motivational sense, in the literal physiological sense. Your nervous system is in a rare window of plasticity, one of those that appear only a few times in a lifetime, where small choices reorganize large circuits. People confuse a turning point with a moment of epiphany. It isn't. A turning point is the window where the tissue accepts a new instruction without resisting. And this window has a deadline. It does not stay open forever. It closes when the body returns to a state of defense for a prolonged period. What you are feeling now, this uncomfortable mix of exhaustion and expectation, is the open window. That which you asked for is approaching, not as a reward for good spiritual behavior, but as a mathematical consequence of a frequency that finally passed the minimum threshold of coherence. Life is not reorganizing itself to give you a gift. Life is reorganizing itself because your body, after so much time, finally stopped blocking the delivery for moments long enough for the field to fit the pieces together on the physical plane. Every coincidence that will start to happen in the next few days is a confirmation that the reorganization is underway. Seemingly random encounters in places like Seattle or Miami, unexpected phone calls, ideas that appear in the shower with unusual clarity, someone who reappears, a sum of money that shows up, a door that opens in a place where you weren't even looking. Do not confuse these signs with luck. They are readings. The field is reading your new signature and responding in real time. And this is where this video ends. Not with a prayer, not with a metaphorical hug, it ends with a choice. You can close this video and tomorrow morning your body will wake up and repeat the same emotional past it has been repeating for years. The same cortisol, the same tightness, the same loop. And 12 months from now you will be here again, perhaps watching another similar video, asking why it hasn't arrived yet. Or you can change your neurological baseline now, today, even this Sunday, and enter the only protocol designed to rewrite your physiological identity in 28 days within the theta state. The link for the Prosperity Magnet is in the first pinned comment of this video. It is the only place where it appears. Before closing, leave the phrase, "I am coherent" in the comments, if you understand that reality responds to your state, not your words. This phrase is not for engagement. It is an identity command that your own brain will read as an instruction. If your body continues to lock up while your mouth says, "I receive," use the protocol tonight. Biology is waiting for your instruction. Decide.